Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Voyager class Armada Universe Starscream from the Transformers Legacy line from Hasbro. So pretty standard packaging here for the Legacy line. We have some nice artwork of the vehicle mode here on the front. Then we have some really nice artwork of Starscream in robot mode over here on the side. We have the kind of open packaging here. There's no plastic window or anything. Over here on this side we just have that Decepticon picture that we have on the side of all the Decepticons for Legacy. Not really much going on the top or the bottom. Spin around to the back and we have some nice product shots for both the robot mode and the vehicle mode. Got the QR code for the tech specs down here. So I'm kind of excited for this one. I didn't originally think I was going to be, but the more I've seen about this figure, I think it's going to be pretty cool. So let's go ahead, let's get it out of the box, and let's take a closer look. Here is Armada Starscream out of the packaging, and I think he looks pretty good. I think he came out great, doesn't have a lot of kibble or anything like that. He does have this kind of gun backpack here along the back, but I don't think that's a problem whatsoever. And actually you have a couple options with it. You can leave it on the back like this. The guns are still deployable. They're not spring-loaded or anything like that. So if you wanted to have really tall guns here on the back, you could absolutely do that. Or what you can do is actually grab a hold of this red piece right here, flip this whole section up like this, and then you can bring the red section back down, and there are these two little tabs right here and here that'll actually peg in, and that snaps in pretty solid, and then you can actually have the guns along the head. This is a little bit more authentic to the original toy and how he looked on the cartoon, but I understand a lot of people don't love having the guns just stick straight out like that. Of course, you can bring them forward, and if you have some effect pieces, now these don't come with him, I just grabbed these from something else, but they are effect piece compatible, so if you want to have it look like he's firing the guns, that's really cool. I like that a lot. So I'm kind of conflicted because I really do kind of like the look of him like this, but I also don't love having those guns stick straight out the back. But you do have a couple of display options with those. This is absolutely going to help when displaying him on a shelf. He won't take up nearly as much room. So I like that. You have both options. You can display it either way, and I think that's really fun. I think the head sculpt came out great. He's got really nice yellow eyes there. The face is painted very nicely. The head's on a ball joint, so it can look up pretty far. Look down fairly far, certainly spin to side, no problem. Can't tilt side to side all that much. The wings are movable. You can rotate them here as well as kind of angle them forward or back. I guess can't come too much forward, but you can angle them back surely. Nice Decepticon symbol there. You have a hinge here in the shoulder as well as a rotation. Now, unfortunately, I've seen a couple people online complain about this. The way this transforms, this piece here actually slides along this metal rod, and so because of that it doesn't really lock into place. I kind of wish like you had to pull this back to loosen it, and then you could slide it, and then when it comes back up it would click into place, and I think they tried to do it that way. It's a little bit more solid on this side, so if you don't mind it being over there, it locks in a little better. But unfortunately you bring this down, you slide this over, when you come back up it doesn't really click into place here, and as a result it's a little loose there, which is a bummer. But the bicep swivel is nice. You have a double jointed elbow there, which is nice. And do we have any wrist rotation? No, I think because of the way that transforms, the wrist is solid there. Now you have these fins here on the sides of the cockpit. If you want a more traditional look, you can leave these straight out, but they do tuck back if you like a little bit of a cleaner look there, so some more options for that. Kick pretty far forward. If you don't have the guns in the way, he can kick pretty far back. Kick out to the side. You have a thigh swivel there. I would say a little over 90 degrees there in the knee. And then you do have some ankle tilt as well. So you have a lot of nice articulation. It's just a shame that because of the way that transforms, those don't lock into place as nicely as they could. But the rest of the arm is pretty solid. And it's not a huge problem. They're a little loose, but you can still pose around and do different things. It's just, it's going to sag a little bit, which is a bummer. But you have some really nice paint applications. You have all this black and gold here on the shoulders and the chest. The cockpit's painted really nicely. You have all this red paint here on the arms. You have this silver here on the wings, which looks really nice. All of this looks pretty sharp. So all in all, I think the robot mode does look pretty good. It's just that kind of one problem with the, I wouldn't even call it like the shoulder, because this is kind of technically his shoulder. It's just kind of like, it's not even really the bicep. It's like in between the shoulder and the bicep. So they are kind of noodly. This one's not as bad. This one is a little loose. But like I said, if you can get a pose, it's not too bad. Now he does come with some accessories. He's got 2 swords. If you remember the original toy, the wing actually popped off and transformed into the sword. And you may be able to replicate that here. I think it's just on a mushroom peg down in there. So if you really wanted to kind of push this down, I think you could take it off while he has the sword in hand to kind of simulate the fact that he's done that. I'm not going to bother with that here. Yeah, unfortunately, the wing just can't transform. And unfortunately, the sword is very lackluster. There's really nothing going on here. It's just molded out of this gray plastic. Even just like that little red here for the edge, I think would have gone a long way. Just something to make it pop a little bit. But it is what it is. So we'll go ahead and pop that into his one hand. And then he does come with the Star Saber, which is kind of cool. It's got a decent amount of molded in detail there. But they just painted the blade this whole like sky blue color. It's not terrible. It could be better. I kind of wish it was a little bigger. Obviously, any other paint they wanted to throw on this thing would be appreciated, but I get it. You know, they're trying to keep costs and everything has to fit inside the budget, but maybe just a little bit longer might have worked a little better. I'll have to wait when Hotshot comes out. It might fit with him a little bit better because he's a little smaller, but it's still cool that they include it. So you can go ahead and give him that so he can kind of dual wield these 2 swords here. So yeah, the swords aren't perfect. They're okay, but they certainly could be better. But honestly, they're all right. But yeah, the robot mode I think is pretty solid. I really do like the options for the guns here on the back, being able to have them rest along the back if you want, or flip them up for attack. That way they're not always sticking straight out like the original toy. And overall, otherwise, I think the paint applications are good. Just that little bit of a loose arm there is a shame, but it's really just because of how that transforms sliding on that pin there. I wish that locked into place a little better. But I still think he's a pretty good looking robot mode. Alright, so let's go ahead and get into transformation. It's fairly straightforward. I'm going to start by opening these panels here on the arms and then flipping the fists inside and closing those up. Very simple. Then you're going to, if you have this pegged in, unpeg that, straighten this all out, and then you're going to bring this up so that that is like that. You're going to flip this section up and then flip up the little wings as well. The arms you kind of just want to get out of the way for now. Although technically we have to kind of bring these in so that we can flip up the wings. So that kind of becomes a solid piece of the wing there. So you do have to straighten out the shoulders. And then just kind of get the arms out of the way as best you can. This whole section is just going to swing back like this. Oop, I don't know what I did there. Okay, apparently I flipped that up too far. So bring this in and that should snap in. There we go. So when you do that, that will allow the head to compress down into the body. And then when you're transforming it back into robot mode, bringing this up will pop the head out. So that's kind of cool. So now, again, just kind of get these arms out of the way as best you can. We're going to come down to the feet. If you have them tilted, straighten them up, fold the heels into the feet, and then pop these straight back like this. So this is where it gets a little weird, but not too bad. We're going to come around to the back here, and you have these little panels, which is nice because it fills in the back of the leg, which would otherwise be hollow. You're going to open these up, and they do open the same way. Now, at first I thought, did they give me 2 of the same leg? But no, that's actually how it's supposed to be. So this is where it gets a little weird. So you're going to flip this around, and then you have to bring this, and I kind of have difficulty with this, and sometimes I like to bring this forward just a little bit for simplicity's sake, because this panel here has to kind of hang back while you bring this in. And then you have to bring the panel around and fit into that area there. So sometimes I find it's a little easier to just kind of bring the waist a little bit forward so you have clearance. It's not nearly as difficult with this one. This one just swings around, fits into that area, and then this is going to come down and these two are going to peg into each other, which is kind of cool. It kind of just, again, fills in hollow space, which is nice. Make sure that's all connected there. And then you're going to come to the arms and you're going to bring them down, slide them over, and then use the double jointed elbow to bring this all the way up and just kind of snap that in like that. So again, bring this down, slide over, and then use the double jointed elbow. And that's just going to kind of all click into place like so. And there we go. We have our Armada Starscream. If these are tilted up at all, you want to make sure that the shoulders are all the way down like they're supposed to be, so that this can click in. I feel like this isn't quite clicked in. And there we go. We have our Armada Starscream vehicle mode. I think the jet mode looks pretty good. I like how the arms are tucked in a little bit tighter to the body. The original toy had them just kind of sticking straight out, which I always thought looked a little weird. The legs compress pretty nice and tight back here. You have these pieces clicking together to fill that empty space, which is nice. The wings look pretty good. I think the cockpit looks good. You have these little fins here on the side. We can take those effect pieces again and pop them in here to kind of make it look like propulsion, which I think is pretty cool. I like that. Or again, you can, of course, flip them forward so that he is firing them while flying around, so they work both perfectly in that regard. You can take the swords and just kind of peg them underneath the wings if you want. I think it looks kind of ridiculous, but if you're just looking to put the swords somewhere, they absolutely can store there. I guess technically you could also have them pointed back. Maybe that would look a little better. Maybe if I flip this around. I mean, that's a little better look, but again, I still think they kind of look goofy, but pointed back I think looks a little better than pointed forward. But I'm probably just going to put them off to the side. So yeah, I think the vehicle mode is pretty good, pretty simplistic. Again, other than the guns, doesn't really have any other functionality or anything in this mode. But yeah, it looks pretty good. So Armada Starscream is not quite perfect, but I still think he's a really fun figure. I think they did a great job with the aesthetic. I think he looks really good. The paint applications are nice. The robot mode and the vehicle mode are both very reminiscent of the original toy and his design on the show. I think they're a little bit cleaner though. Like I mentioned, in vehicle mode, those arms are a little bit more compressed to the body, which I really appreciate. And just a couple other general improvements like that. I really like all the options you have back here with the guns. You can have them straight along the back of the body, or you can have them flipped up so that you can deploy them, and it's a little bit more reminiscent of how he looked in the original toy in the show. So I like those kind of improvements. I think that was really nice. Again, the arms are a little loose, and that's kind of a bummer. It doesn't really ruin the toy. Like, you can still get them in some good poses. It's just that they're going to be a little floppy, and that's just kind of a shame. I feel like there's something they probably could have done, some kind of notch in there so that when you bring it down, it's just a little bit more friction to keep it in place, something like that. I like that you can kind of pop these out if you want a more traditional look, but also tuck them in just for some more improvements. It's a lot of things like that where they gave you the option. If you just want a more articulated version of the original toy, you can really make it aesthetically look like that. But if you want some kind of quality improvements with the guns and other things kind of tucking back and just kind of looking a little bit neater in the robot mode, you have that option as well. The weapons are okay. I wish they were a little better. I don't necessarily need the wing to pop off to form the sword, although that would have been neat. But maybe just a littlest bit of more paint. Like I said, maybe just that red edge would have looked nice. And maybe just a little bit something more. The sword, I think, could have benefited from being a little bit longer. They gave us some paint on it, and it doesn't look bad. It's not terrible. Like I said, it might fit a little better with Hotshot when he comes out, just because he's going to be a little bit smaller figure. So the size ratio there might meet up a little bit better. But overall, I still think this guy's a lot of fun. I wish he was a little bit, there's a couple things I mentioned would really make him perfect, but I still think he's worth picking up. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.